I pulled the trigger on my sister's fiancé not to kill him, but to make him bleed out his lies right there in the church basement. The echo of the shot still ringing in my ears as the wedding guests upstairs clinked champagne flutes. It was the kind of sin that gets you damned in polite society, but in the underbelly of American family rot, it felt like justice served cold. And the real kicker? My dad had dragged me here in the first place, his meaty hand on my shoulder like a vice, whispering that if I didn't show up smiling for Emily's big day, he'd yank my tuition faster than you can say, disinherited son. That morning started like any other nightmare in our fractured McMansion in suburban Connecticut, white picket fences hiding skeletons that could fill a graveyard. I'd woken up in my childhood bedroom. The one I'd been crashing in since community college turned into a 4-year bleed-out at Yale on Dad's dime. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and regret, the kind that clings to you after you've spent years carrying someone else's sins. Emily's laughter floated up from the kitchen, all bubbly and bridal, as if she hadn't gutted me 5 years ago and left me to fester. I stumbled downstairs, nursing a hangover from cheap bourbon and cheaper memories. Dad was at the Granite Island, scrolling his iPad, his broad shoulders straining against a polo shirt that screamed, successful contractor. Mom was gone. Cancer took her when I was 16, leaving us with a hole no amount of Protestant guilt could fill. Emily twirled in, her veil box under one arm, her phone glued to the other, snapping selfies in that white lace dress that cost more than my first car. "Morning, loser," she said, planting a kiss on Dad's cheek. "You ready to walk me down the aisle?" "God, Jake, you look like shit." "Rough night," I grunted, pouring coffee black as my mood. "Just peachy." "Who's the mark today?" That dish-a-bag Chad still think he's God's gift. Her eyes flashed, but she played it cool, the way she always did when the past clawed too close. "His name's Ethan. Asshole. And yeah, he's perfect. Unlike some people who peaked in high school." Dad cleared his throat, not looking up. "Enough. Jake, you're coming to the wedding." "No arguments." I laughed, bitter as the bruise scalding my tongue. "Pass. Got a paper due. Philosophy of vengeance or some crap." His head snapped up, eyes like storm clouds. "You'll be there, or I'll cut you off. Tuition, books, the works. Emily's day is sacred. Family first, son. Or have you forgotten that?" Forgotten? The word hit like a sucker punch. I hadn't forgotten a damn thing. Not the night of the crash. Not the blood on my hands that wasn't mine. Not the way Emily's tears had bought my silence while she skipped off to her Ivy League dreams. But Dad? He was the king of selective amnesia, building his empire on the bones of deals he'd rather bury. "Fine," I muttered, slamming the mug down. "But don't say I didn't warn you when the cake tastes like ashes." The drive to the church was a funeral procession in a black Escalade. Dad behind the wheel, Emily chattering about floral arrangements and honeymoon spots in Maui. I stared out at the manicured lawns of Greenwich, the American dream on steroids, mansions with 3-car garages, kids in Lacoste polos tossing frisbees, all blind to the rot underneath. Ethan was waiting at the altar. Of course, the golden boy from Wall Street, all crisp tucks and trust fund smile. I'd met him once, at a family dinner where he shook my hand like I was the help, his grip firm but his eyes scanning me for weaknesses. "Jake, buddy," he'd said then, clapping my back. "Heard you're in pre-law. Gonna be a shark like your old man?" "Something like that," I'd replied, forcing a grin. What I didn't say was that sharks eat their own. And Ethan? He reeked of chum. As we pulled up to St. Mary's, the lot was packed with Hyundais and Beamers, guests in pastel suits milling like cattle to the slaughter. Emily squealed, hugging Dad before vanishing into the bridal suite. He turned to me, his voice low. Behave. For once. I nodded. But inside, the fuse was lit. The truth I'd buried deeper than Mom's ashes was clawing its way up. And this wedding? It was the perfect grave to dig it out of. The rehearsal dinner the night before had been a powder keg disguised as small talk over lobster bisque at the country club. Ethan held court, toasting to new beginnings while his hand lingered too long on Emily's thigh under the table. Dad beamed, proud as punch, recounting how he'd vetted the guy, background checks, stock portfolios, the works, as if paper trails catch monsters. I sat at the kids' table equivalent, nursing a scotch, watching Emily glow. She caught my eye once, a flicker of something, guilt, pity, before looking away. We'd been close once, thick as thieves, until that rainy October night when everything shattered. It was senior year of high school. Emily, wild child in her cheer uniform, had snuck out to meet some college guy at a frat party in New Haven. I was the designated driver, the responsible one, tailing her in Dad's old F-150 because family protects family. But she ditched me for shots and bad decisions, and by 2 a.m., I was circling front row, phone blowing up with her drunk texts. Then the call came, not from her, but from the ER. A hidden run on I-95. Some girl, pledging sorority, DOA on the median. Witnesses saw a pickup, dark, speeding off. Emily's phone pinged towers near the scene. Turns out, she'd driven home hammered, clipped the girl on the on-ramp, panicked, and fled. She confessed in hysterics at our kitchen table, mascara rivers down her face. Jake, please. Dad can't know. College apps. My future. I took the fall. Lied to the cops. Said I was driving. Swerved to miss a deer. They bought it because I was the good kid, no priors. And the evidence was circumstantial. Community service, suspended license, a black mark that derailed my scholarships. Emily? She thrived, full ride to Brown. Sorority queen. Now this wedding to a man who probably alphabetized his sins. But Ethan's secret? That's what festered. 6 months ago, digging through old case files for a term paper, I found discrepancies. The girl's phone record showed texts from a burner, messages about meeting up that night. And the number? Traced to a prepaid bot in Manhattan. Ethan's old stomping grounds. Pre-Wall Street polish. He'd been the college guy, the one Emily met that night. He'd put her behind the wheel, knowing she was wasted, then vanished when it went south. Betrayal on betrayal. My sister, my blood, had covered for him all these years. And Dad, he knew fragments, enough to pressure me into silence back then, trading my future for family unity. The ceremony was set for 4 p.m. Sun dipping low over the spires, casting long shadows like accusations. I slipped into the vestry, borrowing a usher's jacket to blend. Guests filed in, cousins from Ohio, Dad's golf buddies, Ethan's sleazy finance bros. I spotted the basement door, ajar, leading to the prep room where the groomsmen stashed flasks and nerves. Ethan was there, alone, adjusting his cufflinks in a mirror cracked from some old brawl. He looked every inch the victor, tall, blonde, jaw carved from marble. But I saw the tick. The way his left eye twitched when he thought no one watched. "Jake," he said, spotting me in the reflection. "No surprise. Just oily charm. Didn't think you'd make it. Water under the bridge."
Ah.
I closed the door behind me, the click loud as a cocked hammer. "Bridge?"
Nah.
More like a noose. He turned, smile fading. "What's this? Cold feet for your sis." I stepped closer. The weight of a .38 in my jacket pocket, a relic from Dad's hunting days. Borrowed last night. "Cold feet were yours."
Ethan.
That night on I-95. You handed her the keys, watched her peel out, then ghosted. Left me to eat the crash. His face paled, but he recovered quick. That Wall Street poker face, sliding on. "You're drunk. Or delusional. Emily told me about your episode. The accident. Tough break."
Month.
Liar. I pulled the gun. Not aiming yet. Just letting the barrel glint in the fluorescent hum. "I have the text. The burner. Your alibi crumbles like your conscience." He backed up. Hands up. But his eyes darted to the door. To his phone on the counter. Calculating escapes. Like always. Okay. It was a mistake. She was fine. I thought. Fine? A girl died. I rotted for it. And Emily? She married your ass anyway. The first shot was low. Into his calf. The silencer eyed MacGyvered from a Coke, muffling it to a cough. He crumpled, howling muffled against his fist. Blood pooling on the tile like spilled Merlot. Not fatal, just enough to hobble the groom. To make him confess before the organ swelled. Upstairs. The bridal march started. Emily. Radiant. Arm in Dad's. Oblivious. I wiped the grip, tucked the piece away, and melted into the pews as Ethan staggered up minutes later.
Pale.
Claiming a twisted ankle from nerves. The vows were a farce. His voice cracking on, forsaking all others, her eyes shining with what I now knew was bought forgiveness. Dad shot me proud glances, thinking he'd won. But as the recessional played, Ethan limping beside her, I leaned to Dad, whispering, "Check his sock." The truth's bleeding out. Chaos erupted in the receiving line, guests gasping as Ethan collapsed. Paramedics swarming, Emily screaming. Dad's face twisted from joy to horror as the cops arrived. Not for me, but for the gun I'd planted in Ethan's tux pocket, the one with his prints from a friendly handling last week. "You forced this," I told Dad in the ER waiting room. Emily sobbing in a curtained bay. "Tuition? Fuck that. I paid enough." He stared, the pieces clicking. "What did you do, son?" "Nothing you wouldn't for family." The twist? Emily knew. All of it. She'd confessed to Dad years ago. In whispers, and he'd buried it deeper, pressuring me to attend not out of love, but to keep the lid on, to marry off the problem before I unraveled it. The revenge? It split us all, me the vigilante son, her the complicit bride, him the patriarch puppeteer. No heroes, just Americans chasing the lie of perfection. As sirens wailed into the Connecticut dusk, I walked out free. Tuition be damned. But the debate? Was I avenger or monster? That's the hook that keeps you up at night. The hospital lights buzzed like angry hornets as I paced the linoleum corridor. The scent of antiseptic mixing with the copper tang of Ethan's blood still fresh in my nostrils. Nurses in scrubs darted past, Clipboards clutched like shields, while family filtered in, aunts with pearl clutches, uncles nursing flasks in paper bags. Dad cornered me by the vending machine, his face a roadmap of veins and fury, the contractor's tan lines stark under the fluorescence. "What the hell did you do, Jake?" His whisper was gravel, fists balled at his sides. "Ethan's screaming about a shooting. Cops are en route. If this blows back, it already has." I cut in, popping a quarter into the slot for a candy bar I didn't want. The chocolate cracked open like a fault line. "You built this house of cards."
Pop.
Emily's crash. My rap sheet. Ethan's ghosting act. "You knew. Don't gaslight me now." His eyes narrowed. That old poker tell, the micro-flinch when the bluff cracked. "Knew what? That your sister made a mistake? We all did." "Your mother," he stopped. The name a ghost between us. Cancer hadn't just taken her body, it had hollowed Dad's soul, leaving a man who equated control with love. "Mom would have wanted truth," I said, voice steady despite the quake inside. "Not this whitewashed wedding farce." Emily emerged then. Veil askew. Mascara tracks carving canyons down her cheeks. She lunged at me, fists pounding my chest like a toddler's tantrum. "You bastard. You ruined everything. Ethan, he's innocent." I caught her wrists gentle, the way I had that night in the kitchen, her sobs soaking my shirt. "Innocent? Ask him about the burner phone.
Eminencia.
The text's egging you on. One more shot.
Babe.
Drive safe. He set you up to fail. Then let me swing." She wrenched free, staggering back into Dad's arms.
Lies.
"You're jealous. Always have been." The good son. The martyr. The words stung, but they were old wounds, scabbed over with resentment. Jealous? Maybe once. Of her ease. Her charm that bent the world to her whim.
But now?
It was pity, sharp as the .38's recoil. Cops arrived in a flurry, 2 uniforms, badges glinting like judgment. They separated us, Dad flashing his lawyer contacts, Emily babbling about intruder, Ethan sedated in a bed, legs swathed in gauze. I gave my statement clean, saw a shadow in the basement, heard a scuffle, found Ethan down. Self-defense vibe, without the gun in my tail. They bought it provisional, ballistics pending, witnesses scarce. By midnight, we were home, the McMansion echoing empty. Dad poured scotch in the study, the decanter trembling in his grip. "Sit," he commanded, pointing to the leather armchair that swallowed me like guilt. I perched, defiant. "Tuition's off the table now, right? Mission accomplished." He slammed the glass down, amber sloshing. "This isn't a game,
Jake."
Ethan's family has pull, senators, donors. If they tie this to you, to us, I corrected. You covered for Emily. Bribed the DA for my plea deal. I have the emails.
Dad.
From your consultant in Hartford. His face drained, the color fleeing like rats from a sinking ship.
How?
Pre-law teaches you things. Like FOIA requests. I'd spent semesters in the library, not just cramming torts, but excavating the family vault. The payments, the sealed records, it all pointed to a father who'd trade a son's future for a daughter's shine. He sank opposite me, head in hands. I did it for unity. After your mother. We were breaking. Emily was the light. You were strong enough to bear it. Strong. I barked a laugh. Hollow. I lost friends, jobs,
Sleep.
therapy bills you wouldn't cover. And for what? So she could snag a sociopath like Ethan? The door creaked. Emily, in silk pajamas, eyes red-rimmed. He's not. He loves me. Loves the cover, I shot back. Think about it. Why propose now? After 5 years? Leverage. You as his alibi wife. Tying up loose ends before his IPO hits. She flinched, hugging herself. You're wrong.
We can fix this.
Call it an accident. Move on. But the seed was planted. Doubt flickered in her eyes. The first crack in her bridal armor. Dad watched us. The puppeteer realizing his strings were fraying. Dawn broke gray over the sound. And with it, the call started. Ethan's mom. A Park Avenue dragon. Demanding answers. Dad's contractor crew.
Gossiping on job sites.
I fielded none. Slipping out for a run along the beach. Salt wind whipping my face raw. The ocean churned, indifferent to human messes. And for a moment, I envied it. Back home, Emily cornered me in the garage. Dad's tools glinting like accusations. What do you want? Jake? An apology? Money? Truth, I said, wiping sweat. At the altar. Tomorrow, if it even happens. Or I go public. Podcast.
Hedge.
The works. Suburban Dynasty. The hit-and-run heirloom. Her laugh was brittle. Blackmail? From you. Revenge, I clarified. The American way.
Swimming.
She left, slamming the door. But I saw the wheels turn. By noon, she was on her phone, digging old messages. Perhaps. Or Ethan's browser history.
Good.
Let the betrayal boomerang. The wedding was postponed 24 hours. Due to groom's injury. Society pages ate it up, speculation. Schadenfreude. Dad brokered peace with the in-laws over golf and Glenfiddich. But tension simmered. That night, I hacked Ethan's cloud, basic phishing. Pre-law perks, finding folders labeled contingencies. Photos of the crash site. Deleted texts. Even a payoff memo to the girl's family for silence. Jackpot. But the real gem? An email chain with Emily. Post-crash. Babe. Jake took the hit. We're golden. Marry me someday? She'd replied, someday. After I graduate. 5 years of foreplay to a farce. My blood boiled. But I held. Printing hard copies. Stashing them in my glove box like dynamite. Next morning, the rescheduled ceremony loomed. Dad cornered me again. End this. For her. For you, I countered. Admit it. You forced me there to muzzle me, not celebrate. He deflated. Maybe. But family's all we got. Not anymore. As we dressed, me in the same rumpled tux. Him in tails, I felt the noose tighten. Revenge wasn't the shot. It was the unraveling.
Tret be tret.
Until the whole tapestry burned. The church lot was half empty. Buzzards circling in whispers. Ethan hobbled in on crutches. Painkillers glazing his eyes. Emily. Steel-willed. In a backup gown. I took my seat. Heart-pounding sync to the organ's dirge. Vows again. But this time, when the priest asked for objections, I stood. Not with a gun, but words sharper.
Ido.
Object. Because this union's built on a corpse. Gasps rippled. Dad's face ashen. Emily's veil trembled. And then, the truth spilled, like blood from a fresh wound. The sanctuary froze. The priests speak now or forever hold your peace, hanging like smoke from a barrel. Sunlight slanted through stained glass, painting Emily in bloody hues, crimson saints mocking her white lace. Ethan's crutches clattered as he whirled, face twisting from groom to ghoul. Sit down, you psycho. But I was already moving, aisle striding like a man to his own gallows. The printed emails fanned in my hand like a bad poker hand. Guests murmured, old money whispers of drama and meds, while Dad half rose, caught between lunging and lawyering. Emily, I said, voice carrying clear as a confession. Tell them about October 17th, 2018. The F-150. The girl on the median. Her bouquet wilted in her grip, petals drifting like confetti from hell. Jake. Stop. Not here. Here, I insisted, thrusting the pages at the front row. Dad's sister. Ethan's mom. The works. Ethan's contingencies. Proof he goaded you drunk. Then bailed. I drove the fall guy because family, right? But you too? You plotted the cover while I scrubbed blood off the bumper. Ethan lunged or tried, crutches tangling, toppling him into the first pew with a thud that echoed like judgment. His mom shrieked, fanning him with her Chanel bag. This is libel. Security. No security. Just ushers in ill-fitting suits. Frozen. The priest crossed himself, murmuring Latin under his breath. Dad finally moved, clamping my arm. Enough.
Son.
Outside.
Now.
I shook him off, gentle but firm, the first time I'd stood taller.
No.
You forced this circus.
Pop.
Threaten my degree to play happy family. But the tuition's paid in lies. Emily's lies. Your complicity. She cracked then, veil ripping as she tore it off, blonde waves tumbling wild. It was one night. I was stupid.
Scared.
Ethan, he promised to help, but he freaked.
And you.
You volunteered. Said you'd do anything for me. Volunteered. The word tasted like bile. I was 17.
Eminencia.
Hero worshipping my big sis. You cried. Dad loomed. And boom, I'm the patsy.
Guess her phone's out now.
TikTok's brewing scandals. Ethan's bros jeered. But his eyes, oh. They darted. Scheming exits even on one leg. She's right. You were always the fixer.
Jake.
The beta. This, sour grapes. I rounded on him, close enough to smell his cologne over fierce sweat. Beta? I carried your sin. Wall Street. That girl's name was Sarah Klein. Art major. From Ohio. Dreaming big. You texted her too.
Didn't you?
Meet me after the party. Wrong girl. Right crash. The priest interjected, voice booming. This house of God is built on sand, I finished. Like this marriage, Emily sobbed, sinking to her knees by the altar, gown pooling like surrender. Dad hauled her up, his face a war zone, love, rage, regret. Jake, you're destroying us. Truth does that. Cops crashed the party again, called by some pearl-clutching aunt. Statements. Separations. Ethan carted off for questioning, his alibi thinner than his smile. Emily clung to Dad, whispering please.
Me?
I walked out into the parking lot. Gravel crunching underfoot, the Connecticut sky bruising purple. But the real storm brewed at home. Dad drove us back in silence. Emily comatose in the back. Mascara smears like war paint. The McMansion loomed. Lights on timers mocking our chaos. Inside. She bolted to her room, still hers. Bridal magazines strewn like shrapnel. Dad and I faced off in the kitchen. Same island as breakfast. Now a battlefield. He poured coffee. Hands steady now. The patriarch mask cracking. How long have you known? About Ethan. Months. Pieced it from court docs. His LinkedIn lies. He's not just a finance bro. He's a cleaner. Pays off messes for the elite. Sarah's family? They got a settlement traced to his offshore. He sipped. Eyes distant.
And me?
You hate me most. Not hate. Disappointment. You chose the path of least resistance. Bribe the system. Bury the boy. Mom would have fought. Your mother was a fighter, he admitted. Voice rough. Till the end. Begged me to protect you kids. I thought I was. By screwing me? Silence stretched, broken by Emily's door slamming. She stormed down. Laptop open. Face thunderous. You win.
Jake.
I called the cops on myself. Vehicular. Accessory after. Ethan's done. His texts confirm everything. Dad groaned.
Head dropping. Eminencia. No. Dad.
He's right. I was selfish. But you, she wheeled on him. You enabled it. Paid off the DA to soft-pedal Jake's plea. I saw the check stub. Betrayal boomerang. Dad's empire trembled. For unity, for control, she spat. I watched. The Avenger turned spectator. My revenge had lit the fuse. But the blast was family's own making. Emily collapsed into a chair. Head in hands. What now? Wedding's toast. Ethan's lawyered up. Threatening suits.
Let him, I said.
Pre-law shark. Remember? Night fell heavy. Us three ghosts haunting the hall. Dad retreated to his study. Scotch his confessor. Emily and I ended up on the deck. Stars pricking the velvet sky. The sound whispering waves. I'm sorry, she murmured. Finally. Truly. You deserved better. Apology accepted. But trust? That's DOA. She nodded. Tears glinting.
Fair. But.
Can we try? Siblings. Not strangers. I hesitated. The hook of blood pulling. Maybe. After the dust. Dawn brought warrants, not for me, but Ethan. Feds. White-collar angle. Fraud on top of manslaughter. His contingencies folder? A gold mine of elite dirt. Emily lawyered up too. Pro bono from a women's shelter, ironic. Given the groom. Dad called a family meeting. Awkward as an intervention. We face this together. No more secrets. I laughed. Too late. But I'll play ball. For Mom. Tuition wire hit my account that afternoon, full semester.
Nostrines.
A olive branch.
Battered.
But as Ethan's mugshot hit TMZ, the debates raged online. Was I hero or hothead? Vigilante justice in the suburbs.
Emilis reddit ama trended. Confessions raw.
Dad's contractor biz dipped. Whispers of crooked. My revenge? It split the world, some cheering the takedown, others decrying family wrecker.
No winners.
Just survivors picking shrapnel. Yet the tension coiled tighter. Ethan's next move? A flip. Scheming from a cell. And me? The gun was clean. But my hands? Stained forever. The weeks post-wedding blurred into a legal labyrinth. The kind that chews souls and spits out husks, America's justice mill. Grinding slow but fine. I was back at Yale. Lectures on constitutional law tasting like irony. Classmates side-eyeing me as that guy from the viral wedding. Emily holed up in the city apartment Dad kept for emergencies, her brown alumni network a lifeline turned noose. Dad? He lawyered harder than ever. Schmoozing DAs over steak at Del Frisco's. His empire teetering on subpoenas. Me. I played the dutiful son on the surface. Weekly calls. Tuition checks cashed, but underneath. The revenge simmered. A low boil. Ethan's arrest had been splashy. FBI raid on his Tribeca loft. Headlines screaming, fintech fraudster linked to fatal hit-and-run. The contingencies folder implicated not just him, but a web, hedge fund pals buying silence, politicians pocketing kickbacks. Sarah Klein's name trended, her family's settlement exposed as hush money.
But Ethan? He didn't fold.
From Rikers. He lawyered up with a silver-tongued shark named Harlan Voss, the type who made OJ look amateur. Voss's strategy: flip the script. Paint Ethan as victim, me as the unhinged brother-in-law with a grudge. Premeditated sabotage, he called it in pressers, waving my printed emails like tainted fruit. This family's toxicity runs deep. Emily called me one rain-lashed night. Voice tinny over Bluetooth as I drove the F-150, ironic chariot, back from class. He's suing?
Jake.
Defamation. Says you planted the evidence. I gripped the wheel. Wipers, slapping rhythm. Let him. Forensics'll show the gun's his, prints from that dinner handshake. And the folder? Cloud metadata ties to his IP. Silence. Then a sob. But Dad. Voss has dirt. On the DA payoff. If it leaks. Collateral. I said. Cold. You chose this bed. Not fair. I confessed. Turned state's evidence. They're cutting me a deal. Probation. Community service. Good. Earn it. She hung up. But the guilt gnawed. Was I the villain now? Pushing her under while I surfaced? Pre-law debates raged in my dorm. Vigilantism versus due process. Family versus felonies. Profs pulled me aside. Impressive research.
Jake.
But distance yourself. Distance?
Impossible.
Dad summoned me home weekend. The McMansion dressed for war, caterers for a strategy dinner, his golf buddies doubling as character witnesses. Emily arrived late. Gaunt in yoga pants. No makeup masking the hollows. Over ribeyes. Dad laid it out. Voss wants a meet. Neutral ground. Tomorrow. Manhattan. You come. Show unity. Or, I forked a bite. Rare and bloody. Or I pulled a plug. Again. The threat landed soft this time.
Worn thin. Do it.
I've got loans lined up. But you'll lose more reputation. M's trust. He blanched. Fork pausing. Emily stared at her plate. Just go.
Jake.
For me. Manhattan next day was a concrete jungle fever dream. Skyscrapers clawing clouds. Cabs honking hymns to hustle. We met at a midtown steakhouse. Voss holding court in a corner booth. Ethan across. Leg braced. Eyes venomous. Jake. Voss purred, shaking hands like a used car salesman. The star.
Sit. Eat.
I slid in beside Dad. Emily opposite Ethan. Awkward Tetris. Steaks arrived, but appetites fled. Voss cut in.
Simple.
Drop the charges. Retract statements. We bury the folder as hacked. Ethan walks. Wedding resumes quiet. Your family's intact. Emily's fork clattered. Resume? After. Darling. Ethan cooed. Hand on hers. Think. Our life. Maui. Kids. The portfolio. She yanked away. Fire flashing. Kids? With a liar? Dad interjected. Smooth.
Terms.
No suits on Jake or me. Full NDA. Voss smiled.
Shark.
And Emily's testimony? Retracted. Her eyes met mine. Plea. Panic. I leaned forward.
No.
Truth stays. But add this. Ethan's web crumbles. Names. Dates. All to the feds. Anonymized. For Sarah. Ethan snarled. Blackmail. Negotiation. I countered. American as apple pie. Voss chuckled. Bold. But doable. 48 hours. We left fractured, Dad fuming. Emily silent. Me buzzing with the win. But outside. Rain sheeting Park Avenue. Ethan cornered me under the awning. You think you're smart? I made you. That crash? I whispered to Emily. Sure. But you, always the weak link. Dad's favorite failure. I shoved him. Crutches skittering. Failure? I'm the one standing. He laughed.
Low.
For now. Watch your back. Brother-in-law. The threat lingered as I drove home. Connecticut blurring. That night. My dorm room. Anonymous tip on my door. A photo of Sarah Klein. Printed from the folder. With a note. She's watching. Paranoia crept. Sleep fractured. Classes dragged. Debates turning personal. Is revenge catharsis or cycle? I argued both.
Torn.
Emily texted. Deals off. Voss pushed too hard. Ethan's flipping on his bosses.
Good.
But then. The flip. Dad's call. 3 a.m. Intruder. At the house. Emily's gone. Heart sees. I floored it. Sirens in my head. Revenge's cost?
Blood.
Fresh and familial. Arrival. Cop cars strobing the lawn. Dad in robe. Face ashen.
Took her.
Note says finish the contingency. Ethan. From inside. My doing. The hunt began. Dark and desperate. System's shadows swallowing us whole. Sirens wailed into the pre-dawn hush. Red-blue veins pulsing across the McMansion's facade like a crime scene heartbeat. I burst through the cordon. Dad's arm barring me. She's gone.
Jake.
They took her. His voice cracking. The unbreakable man fracturing. Cops swarmed the foyer. Gloved hands dusting for prints. Flashlights carving ghosts from corners. Gone how? I demanded. Shrugging him off. Storming Emily's room. Bed unmade. Phone charging. A half-packed suitcase yawning open. Lingerie. Passport. A post-it. Maui bound. The window ajar. Screen slashed. Footprints muddied in the flower bed below.
Detective Ruiz.
A no-nonsense Latina with a badge older than me.
Pulled me aside. Kidnapping.
Note on the kitchen table. Demands your head. Retract or sis pays. Ethan style. I nodded. Stomach nodding. He's cornered. Lashing out. Dad hovered. Phone to ear, lawyer. Again. Voss denies. Says it's you. Staging for sympathy. Bullshit. Rage boiled. But focus sharpened. Revenge had escalated. Now it was rescue. Cameras? Neighbors? Ruiz flipped her pad. Ring footage shows a black SUV. Plates obscured. Headed south. Toward I-95. The highway. Same as the crash. Poetic. Poisonous. By sunrise. Task force mobilized. FBI looped in. Given Ethan's Fed probe. I paced the war room Dad's study became. Maps pinned.
Coffee stale.
Emily's face smiled from her senior photo on the desk. Cheer uniform crisp. Eyes innocent. How had we gotten here? Flashback Claude. Post-meet. I tailed Voss's car on impulse. Pre-law paranoia. Snapped plates. Ran them. Linked to a shell corp in Ethan's web. Texted Emily. Heads up. He's dirty deeper. Her reply. Coming home. Scared. She'd never arrived.
Deter.
Perhaps. To confront him. Now this. Dad slumped in his chair.
Scotch downly.
My fault. Push the deal. No, I said. Firm.
His.
But we end it. Ruiz returned. Tablet glowing. Trace on the SUV. Registered to a dummy in Queens. Last ping. Motel off 95. Stamford. Wheels up. Me riding shotgun in an unmarked. Dad benched by Ruiz. Family complicates. The seafarer squatted like a bad memory. Neon flickering vacancy over cracked asphalt. We rolled in quiet. SWAT stacking at exits. My pulse thrummed. .38 tucked. Unregister now.
My ace.
Breach. Door splintered. Shouts echoing. Room 12. Emily bound to a chair. Gagged. Eyes wide over duct tape. Two goons, Ethan's bros. Tats peeking from sleeves down quick. Zip ties biting. I knelt. Peeling tape gentle.
Eminencia.
Easy. She gasped. Sagging into me.
Jake.
He made them. Said you'd come.
Ethan?
Nowhere. Ruiz radioed. Clear. But laptop, live feed. Screen glowed. Voss's office. Manhattan. Ethan. Leg propped. Smirking at webcam.
A. Hero.
But the show's mine.
Click.
Feed cut. But message lingered. Riker's visiting hours. Come alone. Trap. Obvious. But Emily's whisper, go. End it. Lit the fuse. Dad arrived post-rescue. Hugging her fierce. Tears carving tracks. Never again. She clung. Broken. Promise. I drove to Riker's solo. Bridges spanning water, like veins. Processing. Humiliating strip. The clang of gates a dirge. Ethan waited in the booth. Orange jumpsuit clashing his tan. Grin Cheshire.
Jake.
Punctual. Cut the shit. Release the tapes. The leverage. Emily walks free. He leaned. Glass between us. Leverage? That's my currency. But you're the wild card. Always were. Why this? The abduction? Insurance. Voss balked at flipping full. Said you were unpredictable. So, poke the bear. I pressed palm to glass. Bear bites. His laugh echoed tinny. Bite? You shot me. Framed me. Vigilante wet dream. But here's the twist. Emily knew. About the kidnapping ploy. Called me after your text. Begging mercy. Jake's pushing too hard. Lies? Truth? My gut twisted.
Bull.
Check her phone logs. Post-rescue. The visit ended, but doubt seated. Back at Yale. I hacked her cloud, guilt gnawing, but necessity sharper. Logs confirmed, call to Ethan. 2 a.m. Pre-abduction. Transcript partial. Don't hurt him.
I'll talk Dad down.
Betrayal redux. Emily. Playing both sides? Confront home. She admitted. Tearful. I panicked. Thought I could mediate. Dad defended. She was scared. I walked out. Rain lashing. Revenge fractured. Now against kin? But Ethan's play deepened. Leaks hit. Forged docs painting me as the driver. Emily complicit. Public tide turned. Justice for Ethan trending. My face villainized. Climax loomed. Trial date set. My testimony? The linchpin. But anonymous drop. Flash drive at dorm. Voss's confession audio. Ethan's calling shots. Kidnap was bluff. Insurance to flip Jake. Bluff. Emily's terror real. Fury peaked. I met Voss in alley. Shadows long. Talk. He smirked. Then crumpled. My fist. Precise. Ethan's endgame. Plea for immunity. Us, all collateral. No more. I fed the audio to feds. Anonymously. Voss arrested Dawn. Ethan's flip. Full confession. Naming names. But twist, he implicated Dad deeper. Bribes as consulting. Family imploded. Emily chose therapy over trial. Dad, lawyered silent.
Me? Witness stand.
Truth my weapon. As gavel fell. Ethan 20 to life. The courtroom split cheers.
Jeers.
Hero? Monster? The debate eternal. But Emily's last whisper, forgive. Not yet. The federal courthouse in Hartford loomed like a coliseum of glass and steel. Modern America's gladiator pit, where truths duked it out with lies under fluorescent judgment. Opening day. I suited up, charcoal Armani Dad bought for occasions, tie knotted tight as my throat. Emily waited in the gallery, flanked by counselors. Her face a mask of resolve cracked by nerves. Dad? Absent. Indisposed, his bribes under separate probe. Empire audited to dust. Crowd buzzed. Reporters with iPhones.
True crime podcasters.
Sarah Klein's family in front row. Eyes hollow but fierce. Ethan shuffled in chains. Voss beside him in orange. The duo's charm curdled to snarls.
Prosecutor Hale.
A bulldog in pearls. Open strong. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just fraud or manslaughter. It's a tapestry of deceit, woven by privilege, unraveled by one man's quest for justice.
Me.
The jury, 12 strangers. Mix of blue-collar and Brooks Brothers, eyed me curious as I took the stand. Oaths sworn on a Bible that felt heavier than the .38.
Hale Pace.
Mr. Harlan, walk us through October 17th, 2018. I did. Voice steady, the texts, the crash. My confession. Gasps rippled when I detailed the blood, tire treads and flesh. Emily's hysterics. I took the fall because family. But Ethan Caldwell? He orchestrated. Goading her drunk. then vanishing. Defense, Voss sprung. Cut a deal for testimony, cross savage. Objection. Speculation. Mr. Harlan. You shot the defendant. Planted evidence. Isn't this revenge porn? Not justice. Sustained, judge rapped. But the seed planted, me as loose cannon. Emily testified, next. Voice quavering. I drove. Stupid.
Scared. Ethan.
He encouraged, but I chose. Tears, but steel underneath. Jake covered for me. Suffered. I regret. Jury softened, sister's remorse. Relatable. But Voss grilled, and the call to defendant post-wedding? Begging leniency. She faltered. Panic. Thought I could end it peaceful. Or sabotage? Voss sneered. Objection overruled. Damage done. Recess. I cornered her in hall. Marble echoing. Peaceful? You played me. Jake, hurt flashed. Save it. Truth's out. Dad slipped in shadows. Gaunt suited. Proud.
Son.
But watch Voss, he's flipping harder. Too late. Afternoon. Voss's turn. Deal sweetened. Ethan masterminded. But Harlan? Unstable. Shot him premeditated. Family coerced me bribes. Threats. Lies layered. Jury murmured. Sarah's mom wept silent. My recross. Hale fed me Voss's audio. Leaked prior. Objection. Defense howled. Judge. Play it. Voss's voice crackled. Ethan's endgame. Collateral. Jury jaws dropped. Ethan lunged. Chains rattling. Liar. Chaos. Bailiff wrestling. Gavel thunder. Order restored. But tide turned. Closing. Hale painted Ethan monster. Me flawed hero. Defense. Vigilante destroys innocence. Deliberation dragged. 2 days. Us in hotel limbo. Emily and I shared room service. Awkward truce. Sorry, she said again. For the call.
Forgiven, I lied.
Mostly. Dad visited. Hollow. My probe? Plea incoming. Community service.
Finis.
Unity's price. Verdict eve. Anonymous call. Burner. To my cell. Harlan?
Klein family.
Thanks. But your sister's role. We debate. The split. Justice or enabler. Guilty. Ethan life eligible. Voss 10. Cheers.
Sobs. Outside.
Media scrum. Vigilante son saves day? I pushed through. Emily clinging. Dad waited in car. Engine idling escape. Homebound. Silence heavy. Revenge culminated. But hollow. Emily chose rehab, self-imposed. To unpack the mess. Dad sold the McMansion. Downsizing to condo anonymity.
Me, graduated cum laude.
Law firm offers. But the taint lingered. Twist dropped months later. Ethan's appeal. Claiming Emily perjured. Her call as extortion. Feds reopened. Sniffing her deal. She called. Frantic. Help. Cycle spun. My revenge? It birthed more. Endless. But in the quiet, I wondered, was the shot the sin? Or the silence before? Graduation came like a ceasefire. Yale's quad-blooming azaleas against old campus stone. Gowns fluttering like surrendered flags. I walked the stage. Diploma gripped. Dad in audience snapping pics on his new flip phone. Low profile.
Post-probe.
Emily texted congrats from her halfway house in Vermont. Proud bro.
Clean slate.
Slate clean? Mine was etched deep. Scars mapping the revenge road. Law school beckoned. Harvard. Full ride. Irony thick. But the buzz followed. Podcasts dissecting the wedding shot. Reddit threads AATA for framing my sister's groom. Polarized. Half hailed me folk hero. Dismantling elite impunity. Half branded family annihilator. Blood thicker than grudges. Summer gig. Internship at a pro bono firm in NYC. Defending hit-and-run Vicks. Fitting penance. First case. Kid. 16. Took fall for drunk dad. Echoes chilled. I won dismissal. But the boy's eyes, haunted, mirrored mine. Dad downsized to a Bridgeport walk-up.
Kontrak biz rebrandet ethical builds. Vëmëtshëndesh.
Diners over eggs. Rebuilding brittle. Regret the pressure? He asked once. Coffee steaming. Every day. But you, he stirred slow. Chose wrong. Unity over truth. Emily emerged mid-fall. Gaunt but glowing. Therapy journal tucked. Group hug, she quipped at our first dinner. Italian joint in New Haven. We tried, pasta twirled. Laughs forced. But undercurrent pulled, her appeal shadow. Feds circled. Voss's whispers fueling. They want perjury, she confessed over tiramisu. Ethan's appeal gift. I lawyered her pro bono. Motions flying. We'll bury it, but Ethan struck from Supermax, smuggled letter. Via guard. Harlan. Emily's lying still. Crash? She hit Sarah intentional. Jealous sorority bid. I covered love.
C.
Poison pen. I confronted her. Diner napkin shredded. Truth.
Eminencia. All.
Tears brimmed. Half true. Sarah. Taunted me at party.
Slut.
Stealing Ethan. I snapped. Floored it blind. But intent?
No.
Panic. The gray, no black-white. I filed counters, but doubt festered. Revenge's gift, seeing monsters in mirrors. Thanksgiving, uneasy board.
Turkey dry.
Dad carved. Emily passed peas.
Me nursing wine.
Toasts clinked to Sakon's chances. But post-feast, Emily pulled me aside. Porch lit jack-o'-lanterns. Ethan's lying.
But.
I knew about the gun. Day before wedding. You left prints on the safe. My blood iced.
How? Saw you.
Thought. You'd bluff. Not shoot. Betrayal's layers peeled endless. You let it happen. Feared you'd implode. Pushed Dad to force you, hoping catharsis. Catharsis?
Or complicity.
I walk the block. Leaves crunching. Stars indifferent. Back. Truce held, fragile. Winter brought Ethan's appeal denial. But twist, suicide watch after confession tape leaked, him ranting Emily's murder, forged deep fake voice. Public frenzy. Free Ethan versus justice for Sarah. I debated on CNN. Sue crisp. Systems flawed. But family fractures deeper. No one's clean. Host pressed. You? Avenger or abuser? Both. That's America. Emily relocated west. Yoga instructor gig.
Clean break.
Dad volunteered. Habitat builds, atonement hammers.
Me?
Law school grind. Clinics on wrongful convictions. Spring break visit. Her cabin in Tahoe. Pines whispering. We hiked. Silence companion. Forgive, she asked. Lake glinting. Working on it. Dad's call mid-trail. Probe closed. Probation.
But.
Inheritance? Split 3 ways. Money taint. I declined. Keep it. Build something real. Revenge's end?
Not bang.
Whimper. Debates raged. Op-eds Harlan legacy. Hero or hubris? Split down aisles. Parties.
Pews.
Final hook. Emily's wedding real one. Small. To a barista named Tom. No force.
No sreds.
I attended. Suit unrumpled. Toast simple. To truth. Tardy but told. She cried. Hugged. Love you. Bro. Me too. But the scar? Itched eternal. Years blurred the edges. Time the great eraser. But scars? They silvered. Not vanished. Law degree in hand. I clerked for a federal judge in Boston. Ironic oversight. Watching justice from the bench's shadow. Emily thrived in California. Tom a steady anchor. Their kid, a girl, Sarah named, toddling into frames of holiday cards. Dad, retired to Florida. Golf and grandkid visits. His bribes a footnote in tabloids faded yellow. Ethan rotted in Otisville. Appeals exhausted. Contingencies dismantled his web. Hedge funds crumbled. Senators indicted. Voss
Disbarred.
Podcasting conspiracies from a Jersey basement. Sarah Klein's family sued civil. Winnings to scholarships, art majors, dreamers.
Me?
Partner track at a boutique firm. Specializing vigilante cases, gray area defenders. The betrayed seeking bite back. Caseload, betrayed spouses, framed execs. Always the hook. Was it justice or just us? Nights. Bourbon neat. I revisited the wedding tape, bootleg. Grainy. My stand. The gasps. Ethan's crumple. Hero shot? Or hubris? Emily's visit. Summer 29. She flew east. Kid in tow. Tom zooming work. We met at the Cape. Clam shacks and salt air. Dad driving up in his hybrid. Picnic on the beach. Waves lapping like confessions overdue. Sarah Jr. Built sandcastles. Oblivious. Uncle Jake, she squealed. Bucket overflowing. I knelt. Hands gritty. Steady.
Kid.
Foundations matter. Emily watched.
Soft.
Learned that hard.
Postnup.
Adults walked pier. Sunset bleeding orange. Dad broke ice. 10 years. Since the shot. Feels yesterday, I said. Emily linked arms. Regrets. Plenty. The gun, cross lines. But silence? Worse. Dad nodded. I forced you. Worst dad move. Forgiven, she said. Squeezing.
All.
Not all. But close. We toasted with IPAs. Foam fizzing. To messes mended. Back home. Alone. Email pinged. Anonymous. Ethan's script.
Harlan dying.
Liver.
Booze.
Confession. Emily clean.
Crash accident.
You saved her. Forgive self. Tears pricked. First in years. I deleted, but saved the weight. Twists echo. News drop. Ethan's obit. Overdose.
Suicide.
Voss claimed foul. System hit. Debates reignited. X threads. Did revenge kill the villain? I posted once. No.
Lies did.
And love. Messy. American survived. Ending?
No bow.
Emily's family grew. Dad's story softened. My caseload balanced scales. The wedding? Legend now. Cautionary split readers. Cheer the chaos. Or mourn the cost.
Me?
I chose both. Because in the dark tension of betrayal's wake, that's the only truth. No one's wholly right. Wholly wrong. Just human. Clawing light. The hook lingers. Would you pull the trigger? That's the controversy. The umbra. The American pulse.